Hey everyone, welcome back to the Music and Moonsaults channel. I am your host, Chris Bourdine. Today is the first episode of the third of three shows on this channel. You've seen the flagship Music and Moonsaults channel earlier this month where I talked about the music of DX. You saw the Wrestling Wayback Machine I did last week with my friend Matt Durr where we talked about No Mercy 2000. And this is going to be called the Rock and Roll Retrospective. And today I am going to be joined by two very special guests, bandmates, and more importantly, their family. They're the people I talk about music most with, and that would be my brother, Kyle, who plays drums with me in our band, and the person that the band is named after, the Kevin Bourdine Band, my father, Kevin, will also be joining us today. And we're going to be talking about the 25th anniversary of the airing of Kiss on MTV Unplugged. I want to specify the airing. So this is going to be specifically about the TV broadcast of that concert. So we're only going to talk about the, 10 songs or so that they showed on TV that night. Obviously, they added more on the VHS release and the CD release that came out the following spring. And there's even more stuff that came out on the Kissology a few years back. But we are just specifically talking about the songs that they showed on MTV on Halloween 1995. So yeah, I just wanted to do this little intro to get some of the housekeeping out of the way. So if you could like the video, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. That would be a big help. Leave a comment and share the video too if you know any Kiss fans or anything like that might be interested in this little chat. Share it with them and hopefully they like it and they come to the channel and subscribe. That'd be great. So anyways, so yeah, we're gonna have my brother Kyle and my dad Kevin here in a little bit. All right, everyone, as I said, I am joined by two special guests today. In the top left of your screen, you have my bigger little brother, Kyle Bourdine. And on the other side of the screen, you have our dad, Kevin. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. So we are, as I said, we're talking about the airing on MTV of Kiss on MTV Unplugged. 25 years ago on Halloween, 1995.
Hard to believe it's been that long.
I know. Tell me about it. So, I would like to do a little. Always like to do a little background information. So the MTV Unplugged series debuted in 1989 in November, and it was actually, they had three different acts on that show. It was Squeeze, Sid Straw, and Elliot Easton.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard of any
Elliot Easton was in the Cars.
Yes,
I believe.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, and then
I can't think of the song that Squeeze was known for.
Tempted by the Fruit of Another.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Squeeze.
I got you.
So that was the debut episode, and then there have been few of them that have been, quite famous. Eric Clapton in 1992. The album, the album that he released from that is the biggest selling live album of all time. It sold like 26 million copies. And that's the one where he does the Tears for Heaven song on it and stuff like that. So, and then of course,
an acoustic version of Layla.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. And then in 94, you had Jimmy Page and Robert Plant together. And then, of course, probably the most famous one is Nirvana in 94 also. Yeah. And then the one that I owned that I listened to a lot was the Alice in Chains, and they were in 96. Yep. So. Yep. So how do we get to Kiss being on there? Well, in 95, Kiss went on a string of convention tours where they would take over like a hotel ballroom and have, it was called a Kiss convention. And it was basically them in the late 80s. Fans started doing these Kiss expos where people would come and they'd trade and sell, merchandise and bootlegs. In fact, there was a real famous one. I can't remember the year, but one of them, it was in the Detroit area, got raided. Like Gene and Paul showed up with the police and raided it for bootlegs and stuff like that.
Wow. Oh man.
Yeah. So they saw that, what a big deal this was, and we're like, hey, we can do this. We can do this ourselves. Right. So they started that in February of 95 in Australia, and then they came over in the spring and started doing them in America, North America. And then this is when, so the first one they did in America was in LA, and this is the one where they had Peter come on stage and play a couple songs with them. So, like I said, they'd have vendors there where they'd be selling things. They'd have it was almost like a museum where they'd have exhibits and costumes on mannequins and stuff like that. They would have tribute acts perform, and then Kiss would play a acoustic set. And most of the time it's actually pretty close to what they ended up playing on MTV for the Unplugged is the songs they were playing. And they hit all the major spots, LA, New York, Detroit, Chicago, all that kind of stuff. So eventually MTV took notice and say, hey, we got the show Unplugged. You're doing this acoustic stuff anyway. Why don't you come on the show? So they did, and they recorded it on August 9th, 1995 at Sony Studios in New York City. And so, and as I said, the original airing was on Halloween night of 1995. Dad, do you remember? I believe you had someone from work tape it, and then you brought it home, and that's how we watched it the first time. Yep.
The VHS.
The VHS. Yes.
Not beta, but VHS.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run down the songs that they showed on MTV, and just kind of talk about it, and give our thoughts and memories and stuff like that. So they opened the show with a song off of Dress to Kill called "Coming Home." And what was cool about this whole thing was that they played a lot of if Kiss did a set like this today, people the Kiss fans would be losing their minds because it's all rare stuff. It's not your typical.
If Kiss did a show like this today, they wouldn't be able to do it because Paul wouldn't be able to sing it. But
but it's definitely not your usual hits.
No.
So generally they towards the end of more recent times, they pretty much stacked all the hits in there, interspersed with a few nuggets. Mm-hmm. This was a lot of nuggets.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, they play "Coming Home," and I love this version of that song. It's a great opening song for them. And then they go in.
I actually like that version better than the album version.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It feels like it fits it.
Mm-hmm.
It fits the mood of the song.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these I like better than the original versions of the songs.
A lot of these are my favorite versions of these songs.
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Dad and I actually listened to this album or listened to the album version last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him it's probably my favorite Kiss live album.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely
followed closely by Alive 3.
Yeah. No, I definitely would concur with that. So that's not a bad opinion at all in my book. Real quick, let's talk about the staging, the set that they had. So
the floor with the Rock and Roll Over.
The floor with the Rock and Roll Over cover, which was kind of weird because they didn't play any songs from Rock and Roll Over.
No.
So it's what?
Maybe that's why they did this. Maybe that's why they did it the way they did it, was because they gave it a nod without actually playing any of the music.
And then they had the giant Kiss logo behind them, which was clear because there's people sitting in the Kiss logo. You can see them back there clapping and stuff. So
didn't they above it have like displays with
yes, up above the logo they had 5 mannequins with, it started left to right, it was Gene and then Peter, and then all the way to the right it was Ace, then Paul in the Love Gun costumes, and in the middle they had an Eric Carr, I think it was probably the Creatures costume from Eric Carr. So that was a little nice nod to Eric, who had passed away a few years before. So it was cool that they included him.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, no, it was real. They had really started, and Dad, you can speak to this more because you were going to the tours and that, but around the Hot in the Shade tour, they were really starting to lean back into the more makeup songs on tour and stuff like that, leaning a little bit more into their legacy than they had earlier in the 80s.
Yes, and I never really read or heard anything from them speaking why they went away from it for so long, but yes, that was like the signal. The Hot in the Shade was heavy in classic rock, classic Kiss, from the original albums, not the makeup years. Still had the makeup stuff or non-makeup stuff, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they opened that tour with I Stole Your Love, didn't they?
I Stole Your Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but back to this. So the second song they do is off of the Love Gun album, is Plaster Caster. Now, some of these songs at the time, I was 10, so I had... Dad, you had made me a cassette that on one side was Destroyer and the other side was Rock and Roll Over that I played the crap out of.
Yep.
And aside from that, like, it was mostly like the makeup era or non-makeup era that I was a little bit more familiar with, because those were the tapes you guys had, again, cassette tapes.
Currently, at that time.
Yeah, you had in the car at the time. So that's what was getting the most play. So a lot of this non-makeup or earlier makeup stuff I wasn't quite as familiar with as a kid, except for these next two songs, Plaster Caster being one of them, was on the a version was on the tribute album that came out the year before, the Kiss My Ass album.
Yeah.
I can't remember who did the cover of it, but it was on that album. So I kind of knew that song. And again, I think this is a great version.
Oh yeah. Stellar version.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I like it.
So,
I just gotta say,
yeah,
part of what makes me love each of these versions of these songs is just Eric Singer's drumming on them. I mean, me being a drummer,
yes,
that kind of
go ahead.
Probably is what I pick up more on, but he's my favorite Kiss drummer. So
right.
Everything he does for those songs is just perfect.
Yeah.
To me.
Well, again, I think we're all in agreement that I think all three of us this is our favorite lineup of the band with Gene and Paul, with Bruce Kulick on guitar and Eric Singer on drums. So
definitely
the best musicianship of the band. Obviously you can make arguments for Ace and Peter, and I like them simply because they started it all. They were part of the beginnings of it. But pure musicianship, you can't touch Eric Singer, Bruce Kulick. And just quickly, I know that some of the songs that the classic songs, the makeup years songs that they did non-makeup tours, I know that I would start to get frustrated with Bruce because he wouldn't always play the classic solos. But just about the time that I did, he played something that was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he hooked you into it, and you went, okay, well, you didn't play it exactly, but that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think we get to, at least on the, like I said, on the MTV showing of this, I think this is Gene's probably shining moment on the show, Going Blind, which again, was on the Kiss My Ass album. This is great. I mean, it shows off Gene's not known necessarily like Paul was for his vocal range, but this is a pretty high up there song, and to sing that and play that bass line at the same time is this is a perfect example of why sometimes, you know, Gene doesn't get the credit he deserves, because it's not the hardest bass line, but it's definitely one where you definitely gotta take some time to sit down with it and to really get it.
It's one of the more difficult Kiss ones, though.
Yeah, for him, yeah.
I mean, he's never. I mean, not having ever played bass or guitar or anything, you know, other than anyways. It seems like most of those bass parts aren't, you know, very difficult, but that one just has always stuck out in my mind as like, you've got to really have it going on in order to make sure you're doing it right. So
right.
And the lyrics of that song too, as a songwriter myself, I can appreciate the poetic, even though it's kind of a creepy subject.
Yeah.
But the way that it's written is just very interesting, and I think well done.
Yes.
So
we have a fourth.
I would rank that as my favorite track.
Hey, the Catman showed up.
Yes, Cat Girl. Yes, we have a fourth guest unexpectedly. I should have shut the door, but I figured I'm home alone. Why would I need to shut the door?
I love how this episode is turning into, you know, me being a drummer, Dad being a songwriter. Like,
yeah,
right.
Well, I mean that's other than the fact that obviously we're all big Kiss fans and music fans. That's part of the other reason why I wanted to have you guys on for this, is to talk about that kind of stuff. So, speaking of drums, we have a nice little drum intro song here, Do You Love Me, off of Destroyer. This is the first one where I'm like, oh yeah, I know that one. Good song. Yeah, I mean, that's about all you can say about this one. This is a really good song.
Yeah, and I think this version of it makes it feel more poppy
than
the album version or even the live version does.
Yeah.
And which brings it together in this list. You know what I'm saying? It makes it fit. So
yeah, it's weird. Do You Love Me is one of those songs where like when they play it now, I don't know if it's because of, you know, the tempo has slowed quite a bit with their age or what. Whenever they play it now, I'm just like, oh, okay. Kind of like you do, you know, I do with like, you know, a song like 100,000 Years. There's a certain older songs where you're just like, because you've heard it a million times and you're just like, I don't need to hear this song again. But for whatever reason, the album version and then this version are both like, oh yeah, no, that's a good song. I like that song.
Yeah.
So
that's one of my favorite makeup year songs.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. So now we get to my favorite song on this. Sure Know Something.
Yes.
Is I love this song. I love this version of the song. I love the album Dynasty that it's on. I got the little poster behind me here.
Or Dynasty.
Or yeah, if you're from down under, it's Dynasty. But yeah, no, it's the people are watching this are going to be like, can you say anything else? But like, I really can't. Like, this song is just really great. Earlier this year, when the pandemic started and that, I was like, one of the things I would do is I just record myself playing along on bass to certain songs and posting it on Facebook or whatever. This is one of the ones I did because I'm like, this is a great song. I love the bass line in it. And the background vocals from Gene and Eric are phenomenal. It's just a great performance of this song.
And what's funny for me is, you know, the Dynasty tour is the first time I saw them live.
Right.
But I knew of their earlier stuff. And so Dynasty for me was just such a departure that I was just not sure about it. And that song specifically, but this version takes it to the stratosphere to me. And I would rank that like 1A, 1B with Going Blind.
Right.
As far as the best track on this project, because it's just the vocals and everything. It's spot on, and it's a better version than the album version. The album version is really good,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, this is a better version.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Anything to add, Kyle?
Not really, no. I mean,
No?
you guys pretty much have said everything that I'm thinking and feeling. So
I'm glad you brought up the bass line in that.
Yeah.
Because that bass line is great.
And unlike Going Blind, this one's not like
enough credit.
Not necessarily difficult. In fact, this was when I first started playing bass. This was one of the first ones I like picked up because it's not difficult, but it's not. Gene wasn't full on meat and potatoes like AC/DC, but he wasn't. He was like in between that and McCartney. Like he was in that in between range, where on certain songs you can definitely tell the McCartney influence.
Yeah.
But on other songs, it was just straight ahead, follow along with the guitar and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
But no, the bass line is what drives this song. So,
yep.
And then we get one of the funnier moments, Domino, which was one of only 2 non-makeup songs they played on the night, which is really weird. It further shows. I don't know if they knew where they were heading yet, but they might have had an idea, judging by the set list here. And it's really weird and I'll get to it when we get to the second song, but both non-makeup songs they played were from Revenge, the most recent album.
Correct. Right.
So, we got Domino, and Gene flubs up the words like he's known to do. Like he'll flub up words all the time. Like he always confuses the words to I Love It Loud nowadays when they play it. And but they actually stop and restart the song.
Not once, but
I was
twice.
like, does it do it twice?
Yeah.
I think they yeah.
I think so. But it, fun little lighthearted moment. They I don't know if MTV made them do it, but they changed the lyrics a bit. Instead of got me by the balls, it's got to have it all. I thought that was kind of funny.
MTV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine. But yeah, it was a good song. I think this one I think I do prefer like the Alive 3 version, because I think this is a song that really works better, electrified, so to speak, but this version's not bad.
I agree until you get to the very end and Eric Singer does a specific fill.
Okay.
And I melt every time he does it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I totally agree. I love the big electric version of it and everything, because the Alive 3 version is my favorite version of that song. But yeah, just that one part at the end, that does it for me.
What that version, the acoustic version, does for me though is it shows their musicianship, that they can transfer some of that bombast over into the acoustic world and pull it off decently.
Well, yeah, I think this
it's not like it's not like this song just didn't fit.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't electric.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
I agree with you. I think the electric versions are better, but
yeah. No, I think this whole set was them, showing that we like to blow stuff up on stage, but these are good songs too. So next we get I Still Love You off of Creatures of the Night. This is probably Paul's shining moment on the night. There's a video that I don't even remember how I came across it, but there's a video if you Google search vocal coach reacts to Kiss I Still Love You, and it's this British lady, and she's watching this performance of I Still Love You, and she's like she'll pause it at parts and talk talk about it, and it's kind of funny because she keeps calling him Gene. But
oh, that's good.
But yeah, she's impressed by it, and the most impressive part is right after the solo, comes in or is done, and they swing it back through the chorus, and he holds that note for what feels like 30 seconds, but it's probably more like 10 or 15. But he just holds that note, and it's it gets you. This is I mean, Paul was singing really high in the 80s, but this right here is probably where Paul is like at his peak.
Prime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because all over this, he's just phenomenal.
If I had access to a time machine,
yes,
I would honestly go back and see them either this show or on the Revenge tour somewhere.
Right. So
that would probably be the very first thing I would do with a time machine, is go back and see 80s Kiss.
Yes.
Early 90s Kiss.
Yes. Yeah. And again, because of the nature of the show, you know, Paul he's nowhere near as bad as like a David Lee Roth, but like, you know, when he's up there vamping on stage and stuff like that, he's not always, especially during the non-makeup years, he's not always worried about singing the melodies exactly how they're supposed to sound on some of these songs, because he's too busy prancing on stage and whatnot. Whereas here, he's just sitting on a stool singing the songs. And Paul Stanley's a really good singer.
And can I say, sitting and hitting those notes and holding those notes, I mean, that compresses your diaphragm.
Right.
That makes it 10 times tougher to hold that note like he did for 10 or 15 seconds.
You can, and you can hear him, and obviously if you watch it, you can see him, but because I listened to these songs today, and you can, towards the end of it, you can hear him stomping his foot on the floor, because it's really great stuff. So, and then and then even after that, at the end of the song, you know, when he does like the vocal gymnastics, as I like to call it, you know, on the way out, like, it's just, he just goes crazy on the song. It's great.
Yeah.
So much so that even like after they're done, Gene's like, Paul Stanley, like,
yep.
Take a look at this guy.
At that point.
Yeah. So now we're at the song I was talking about earlier. They did Every Time I Look at You, which was also from Revenge. And I gotta say, I don't understand why they did this one, other than the fact that it was from the most recent record. You had, I mean, you just did like a ballad type song with I Still Love You, but if you wanted another one in there, Forever was a huge hit from Hot in the Shade that you could have done. And even the album for that, Crazy Nights, Reason to Live, was a pretty big hit on MTV. I don't know how that one would have translated as much on acoustic, but we know, I mean, Forever would have, for sure. So I would have probably preferred they did Forever rather than this song, because this song was like, oh, well, we had success with those other two, let's try it a third time, and this one didn't do nearly as, you know, I think they did a video for it, but it never got any play at all. So this one I was kind of like, it's an okay enough song. They brought out an orchestra, so maybe that was it. It's like, and then maybe that was it. Maybe they were like, oh, we need an orchestra. We want to do an orchestra song. Let's do that. So I don't know, but
you know, the way I kind of think of it is maybe, you know, this concert was almost like a test of sorts, like a test of, okay, do we, you know, do the whole go back to doing the makeup stuff,
right,
and doing those songs and everything, and then, you know, maybe one of them had the, you know, the idea of playing with an orchestra or something, which eventually led to a Live 4,
right?
But maybe this was you know, just the test for that. So they're like, okay, Forever probably, you know, wouldn't sound that great with an orchestra, I don't think.
Right.
So then, but yet, Every Time I Look at You, that sounded great with the orchestra.
Right.
And again, it's my favorite version of the song.
But again, though, if you fast forward to Alive 4, what's the song they ended up doing with the orchestra? It was Forever. So, yeah. I think because it had, I think the original studio recording has strings in it too. So they probably were like, But.
And again, it might have been picking domino, and every time I look at you might have been fueled somewhat by the record company as well, saying, your album's been out for a while, you don't have a new one in the pipeline,
I mean, maybe. Could be. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. But then we get to probably the biggest reason why this show is as important as it is. They bring out, Paul says, hey, we got some members of the family here tonight. And I'm not talking about mom and dad. I'm talking about Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley. And it was the first time since 1979, the Dynasty Tour. I believe, Dad, the show you were at was the very last show of the tour, if I'm not mistaken.
It very well could have been. It was Toledo Sports Arena, so I don't really know. But it was a smaller market, so...
I think so. I'm pretty sure that the Toledo, Ohio Dynasty show was the last show with all 4 original members. But here they are again. And again, Beth is a song that usually is a skip for me if I'm listening, just because it's fine. But unless I'm specifically listening to the Destroyer album, it's like, This version of Beth is great, with Ace and Paul on guitar and Gene on bass and Peter's just singing, and it's, oh man, this version of the song is really awesome.
And I would say the solo that Ace plays in
it
is one of the highlights of that section for me, because the other stuff that he did was a little sloppier, and like this just fit. It's like he did some research and really wrote a solo specifically for that song, and he played it really well. I mean, it fit.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is one I'd still like us to do sometime. But
yes, after hearing that, it makes it feel possible.
Man.
After hearing that version, it's like, we could do that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A couple guitars, as long as we had 2 guitars playing it.
Yeah, for sure. And then they do something. What I thought was really cool was, so then they brought everyone out. So Gene, Paul, Bruce, Eric, and Ace and Peter all on the stage for the last 2 songs, starting with Nothing to Lose. And this is normally a Gene song, but Eric Singer actually takes over the lead vocal, which was like, wow, okay, cool. And shows off.
He killed it.
Yeah, I was going to say, he shows off what a great singer he is.
Yes. Underrated.
Yeah, and this is great. Like, 10-year-old me, I'm like, oh my gosh, all 6, all 6 members who are alive and matter are
right.
are on stage together. This is awesome.
And still in good graces somewhat. I mean,
well, that's what I mean.
By that time, Vinny had kind of burnt bridges by that point. So.
Right. Yeah. So, it was a good version. I like this version better than I like the Alive version.
Yeah. Because of that, it's got a real energy.
Yeah, it does.
Because of, and I think a part of that lends to the fact that, hey, we're all together again. Mm-hmm. This is cool.
Well, and I love Bruce and Ace trading solos.
Right.
It's a fun moment where, like you said, everyone is together. The family is whole, at least for this moment. So it was a nice thing. And then of course they got to finish with Rock and Roll All Night. Complete with on the second verse, Ace singing one line or one half of the verse, and Peter singing the second half. Again, I think
messing up the words.
Yeah, Peter messed up the words.
Singing the first verse instead.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
It's
been a while.
Right. Yeah, he's got an excuse. Like, and that was never his job anyway. So at least he's got an excuse. And again, like Ace and Bruce split the solo. Just really cool. Really cool to have all 6 guys jamming like that. So yeah, that was it. And so, Dad, here's what I want to ask you, because again, I was 10, so Kyle was like 4 at the time, and the internet wasn't really a thing yet.
Wasn't really, right.
So, as I said, this was recorded like 2 months prior. Do you remember hearing anything prior to, before this showed about Ace and Peter being on stage with them and that?
There were rumors circulating around the underground and stuff, because they had played at some of the conventions that you mentioned earlier. But I don't know if they had both played at one at the same time. Like you mentioned the one that Peter played in LA. And I think Ace joined one in New York. But I don't know if the 2 of them played together before Unplugged. They might have.
I don't think so.
But right. So no, there were rumors floating around that it could happen, but there was nothing definite.
Right.
There wasn't
the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't any rumors even about what the stage would look like or the set list or nothing like that. So all of it was a complete surprise to me. Obviously you knew certain songs were going to get played. Like you mentioned, Rock and Roll All Night.
Right.
You can't have a Kiss show without that song.
Right.
But no, I don't remember hearing anything about it beforehand, other than like, and again, it was a different world. We didn't have our phones in our hand every, minute of the day going, oh, look, Twitter says Ace was in.
This would have been out like worldwide news immediately today.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, it was a well-kept secret. I can't remember where they did the rehearsal for it, but even that, it was almost like the Masked
SIR
Singer
Studios in New York.
That's right. It was like the Masked Singer. It was closed off. Security, nobody knew who was in there. So
yeah, there's like on the Cassology 3, there's like a documentary detailing that whole thing. And apparently it was like even touch and go, like up until like the day before, whether it was really going to happen because of lawyers and stuff like that.
Right.
So
that was a tough thing to work out too, because obviously Ace and Peter, they wanted to be apart, but then again, this is a business thing, so they didn't want to necessarily do it for free. But Gene and Paul didn't want to give them a lot.
Yeah.
And truth be told, they didn't know what they were going to get from them.
Yeah.
Performance wise at that time,
Well, it goes to as we go ahead, they both needed help when they get to before we get to the reunion tour. They both needed help sharpening their chops, so to speak, because they had. I mean, Ace was touring in clubs and that. Peter wasn't doing a whole lot of touring the whole time that he was gone. It was very sporadic.
Right.
So, So yeah, like I said, you had a coworker tape this, and we watched it like the next day or shortly thereafter. Yeah. So from there, from my memory, fast forward to February, we're watching the Grammy Awards, and Tupac comes out, and followed by the 4 original members of Kiss in full costume and makeup.
Right.
And that's when I was like, holy crap. Because again, like I had never like seen that before. Like they were long broken up, that lineup had a long
in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then in April is when they announced the tour, and they kick it off in Detroit Rock City at Tiger Stadium, and you and I were there, Dad, and
I spent the overnight in line trying to get those tickets. I remember that. I'll never forget that.
But yeah,
it's crazy to think about nowadays. Just standing in line for tickets, and not knowing what's going on until it actually happens. Just
I know.
Now, The reunion thing, I remember like Cream and Hit Parader insinuating that could possibly be in the mix or what have you, but nothing was ever confirmed until that Grammy Awards.
Well, I think you could probably start putting two and two together after Unplugged aired that something might be brewing, and it was really weird because at the time they're in the studio working on the next record with Bruce and Eric,
which was Carnival of Souls.
Carnival of Souls, which would end up getting pretty much shelved and released quietly and later in '97, but.
Right.
Yeah, they were working on something in late '95, early '96 for that lineup, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we should probably do this. Because really, if you look at things, so the Hot in the Shade tour was a big tour. I mean, you saw them twice. They came around twice on that one here, in Detroit, in the Detroit area at the Palace. Jump ahead. So then the next tour was 4 years later, 92, 93. Things had changed again. Like, grunge had hit in 91. And, they're touring on the Revenge album, still bringing out bands like Trickster. In that climate, like, that tour was not nearly... It was a very disappointing tour. As far as turnout wise, so they were. I mean, again, and then they go and they do this convention thing. They don't do a proper tour again of North America until the reunion because they're like, we gotta figure out something.
Right. Yeah.
So, which is what they've always been good at. I mean, whenever they've needed something, they've figured out what that something was and gone with it, whether it was taking the makeup off in 83 or we need Def Leppard's huge, let's do a big pop rock album like Crazy Nights, and they've always been maybe a step behind, but they not too far behind to where they needed to be to stay relevant, at least through their more active years. Now they're a legacy act. Now they don't really need to do anything. Even if they never would have put out the two albums they did with Tommy and Eric, they would have been. Their fate was their place is set as far as their where they stand in history. So,
right. Yeah, so definitely.
All right.
To me, that Unplugged cemented that because it showed the fact that here we are, we can do the blow up the stage thing, we can do the makeup, the blood, the fire.
Yep.
But look what we can do too. The disco thing and the pop thing and the concept album thing. They tried it and it didn't work as well.
Right.
But that didn't mean that they weren't afraid of trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I can't say that those albums are terrible albums per se, but it's just not Kiss albums.
Mm-mm.
And their fan base would never accept it,
right,
as such. So
again, like I said, I love the Dynasty album. I think it's because of the disco elements of like I Was Made for Loving You, and that it gets kind of. But there's some really good songs on that album too, and I even like there's some stuff on Unmasked that I think is really good. So, but yeah, I mean, it definitely was not quite as. It wasn't Rock and Roll Over or Destroyer or even Love Gun to that matter.
Right.
So I can see why the fans back in that time weren't as keen on it, so to speak. So, all right, guys. Any last words on this? On this?
No, I think that's.
I think we covered it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys helping me out with this today.
Not a problem.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting us in.
Asking.
Yeah, no problem. Kyle, you got anything you want to plug?
Just my Twitch channel.
All right.
It is Kyler_gaming.
Okay.
I'll have you put that at the bottom there.
Will do.
Spell it out that way I don't have to spell it. That's about it.
That's twitch.tv.
Yes, twitch.tv/Kyler_gaming.
All right. Dad, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, my Twitter handle is @kboardine. If you want to pop on there and see that. Mention the band.
Yes.
Facebook page if you want and stuff like that.
Yeah. Spotify, or YouTube.
Yes.
Or Kevin Bourdine Band. We have the EP we did about 4 years ago is on there. And we're
a little over 4 years ago.
Yeah. So, and we're
September of 2016.
Hopefully gonna get some new music out here pretty soon, but go check that out. Give it a listen. Something we're all pretty proud of, I think. It was so good stuff.
Definitely.
All right, guys.
Drop a follow on the video and a like.
Right? Yes. I hit all that before, but thank you. Do it again. Well, follow me at Ibanez Chris. Yeah, all the good kind of stuff. So until next time, guys, see ya.
Later.